from 2014. It is difficult to know exactly what was going through Numan Haider's mind as he used a knife on two policemen, one federal and one Victorian State officer. Numan was supposed to report to police following up allegations of terrorist support on his end. His passport had been withdrawn and he'd been showing the ISIS flag at local community centres. ISIS recently called for a random Australian to be beheaded, and their body wrapped in a flag shown on video as it is dragged around. Perhaps Numan thought he would use the larger knife he hadn't drawn to lop the head of one of the officers. Numan was 18 years old and radicalised. He had been born in Afghanistan and raised in Australia. His clothing was later found to include an ISIS flag. Numan would have known some things, but not others. He would not have known why the anti-Semitic lobby were wrong to blame Jews for imagined atrocities, because schools in Australia are very poor at covering that issue. He would have known the impotent Islamic leadership in Australia felt his radical viewpoint was legitimate. He would also have known that mainstream media were highly sympathetic with his views, and might have heard the ALP members who publicly stated that they felt that the crackdown on terrorists prior to legislation was too convenient and seemed orchestrated to discredit Islamic peoples. If he had heard Mr Abbott channel President Bush saying that the crackdown was not against religion but against terrorism, he would almost certainly have heard a mainstream media person discredit that assertion. He possibly viewed it as an audition for ABC Current Affairs. He has badly hurt the federal officer, stabbing him many times in the head, neck, and torso, while the state officer had arm wounds before drawing his weapon and shooting once. One bullet killed Numan. Already impotent Islamic leaders are demanding that there be an investigation. Possibly Sarah Hanson-Young will demand to know why the phasers weren't set for stun. Many confuse Islamofascism with Islam. Impotent Islamic leaders seem keen to claim the world is against them. Today is the birthday, 1902, of the corrupt Islamic cleric Khomeini, who abused Islamic process so as to persecute people for profit. Obama bombing Syrian terrorist outposts is a great way to celebrate that birthday. It isn't about religion, and the West defends itself against terrorism. Great kindness and charity is given Islamic peoples, but also much is done for dignity of the Islamic character. The U.S. even elected a confused apostate twice. Obama has not merely bombed targets identified by intelligence. Instead, Obama has got permission from Iraq and Syria to bomb them. Obama has also got interested local nations to join in. But that doesn't satisfy the Australian Broadcasting Commission, who say that appeasement has not been given a chance for success. The adversarial Q&A program stooged a radical terrorist spokesperson in the audience of its weekly program and had panel members who questioned the obvious reality of terrorism. Media Watch took the wrong side, and in another time and place, PETA approached a mosque suggesting vegetarian holy celebrations, and got howled down. Meanwhile, world leaders like Ban Ki-moon march with AGW hysterics and claim he is Secretary General of the people, yet the science is not in, and research on wind in California's so-called local warming in recent decades is related to shifting wind patterns, not climate. Someone needs to tell the people's Secretary General. There are many ways for people to fail. Bob Ellis is only ever right about electoral success when socialists win. This does not mean he has a 50% success rate. This means he's entirely biased. Senator Wilkie from Tasmania has failed to observe reality too. He is still fighting elections long after his lies were disproved. Corrupt former Speaker Peter Slipper has been given hundreds of hours of community service for his attempted fraud that had been supported by Gillard. Gillard and Rudd relived their itchy and scratchy moments for posterity, and significantly, Gillard was exonerated by mainstream media for corruption, but her slush funds documents have become available for the Royal Commission.